So I'm really, really pleased to be here today to share a bit about our business journey so far. It's been a whirlwind couple of years, and for anybody who's started a business, you'll probably all experience the same thing. It's been filled with highs and lows and lots of challenges and a lot of lessons along the way. And hopefully some of what I've learned might spark a bit of inspiration or give you something to think about for your own journeys. So who are Apollo Cloud? Well, I co-founded Apollo Cloud Solutions just over 2 years ago with my business partner, Jonathan Marsden. And I think you'll agree that's the best looking team in telecoms. We worked together previously. We had worked together in a business called the Technology Group, which was a similar sort of business. And we sold that eventually to a private equity-backed trade company. And at that point, it was a choice for me either to think, well, what do I do now? Shall I retire or shall I do it all again? And the fact that I'm standing here today suggests that I decided to just do it all again, bigger, better, and bolder than before. And what we do is specialize in unified communications solutions for businesses. So that's helping businesses communicate better internally and with their customers, and streamline operations and enhance customer service. So it's more than just picking up and ringing a phone. So let me give you an idea of what that business looks like in real life. And I've picked out a couple of our customers to give you an idea of our profile. So here in the UK, we work with a company called Reed Bordell, who you may know. They're just up the road, up the A1 in Boroughbridge. And they are the UK's largest cold storage logistics distribution company. Their turnover is 70 million plus, and they've got 900 people. And you can imagine to them, their phone system, their communication system is absolutely business critical. Regionally, we partner with Ninet, who some of you may know of. They're a company owned by North Yorkshire Council, and they provide broadband and connectivity services across North Yorkshire. And we've become the chosen telephony provider to over 400 schools and a range of public sector organisations in that area. And then on a different dimension, on a global scale, we're very proud to be working with ConnectWise. ConnectWise is the world's largest supplier of IT solutions to the managed service provider community, and they're a little bit bigger than the other two. They've got a turnover of over $200 million, and they've got teams spread across the UK, the US, Australia, India, and the Philippines. And we're delighted that at the stage that we're at, a business like that has put their trust in us, and that's a massive win for what we like to call our small but mighty team. And as I said earlier, it's been an absolutely whirlwind 2 years, culminating in the week before last. We won a Fast Growth Business Award. We've tripled our turnover in 2 years. We've quadrupled our profit in 2 years. And things are pretty decent. So that's a little bit about where we've got to now. But as I'm sure all of you will agree, running a business, starting a business, it's tough. There's no secret formula. There's no magic wand. I wish there was, and everything would be so much easier. But what I can share with you today are a few lessons that we've learned along the way, and you might find them a little bit of use to help you think about your journey. So the first thing, and for us, absolutely the most important thing, is choosing your destination. So before we did anything, before we wrote a business plan, before we crunched any numbers, we decided the kind of business we wanted to be. And we spent quite a few hours in the pub talking about it and decided that we wanted to be a business that had value, because that's super important to where we're going to end up, and also a business that is valued. So it's valued by our customers, it's valued by our suppliers, and it's valued by our community. So that's where we started. And then what is that business going to look like? And it may sound obvious, but you've got to know where you're going. And in the words, to paraphrase Alice in Wonderland, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there. And having worked in several startups and having worked with growing businesses too, one of the things that I've learned is that is something that people don't often start with. And if you do start with that idea in mind, if you do know where you're going, then it informs your decisions. It helps you make the right decision, or at the time, the right decisions along the way. And it helps you stay focused. And we retain that plan in mind. We keep looking at where that destination is, because everything we do is going to help us to get there. And it's important as we grow, and it is very important as we scale. Another thing that we have learned and that I have found super useful is create the dream. So think about who you are, what you want to show to the outside world. Perception is everything when you're starting out. And when you're trying to sell your products and your services to customers, to work with suppliers and partners, you've got to win their trust. And I was talking to some of the people in the room earlier. If you're a new business and you really haven't got much of a story to tell, you know you do a great service, you know you deliver a great product, you know you're trustworthy, you know there are all those things, but how do you tell somebody that? How do you get them to believe in you? And how do you get them to buy into buying their services from you? And we decided at the beginning that in order to try and win the sort of businesses that we wanted to deal with, some of the ones I showed you earlier, we had to look as if we were doing it already. And bear in mind, we're not starting completely from scratch, because we have done this before 2 or 3 times. So we decided to invest very early on in professional branding and create an identity that made us look bigger and more established than we actually were. And that's not about trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. It's about saying, this is who we are, this is our aspiration, deal with us because this is what you're going to get. And we did a couple of important things. First of all, we used adventure grants money to invest in some really high quality videos, which have become the cornerstone of our marketing. It's really helped to get our messages out there in a succinct and consistent manner. And that's been quite important to winning some of the customers that I mentioned earlier. And we also used the Business Enterprise Fund. We got funding from them. Thank you very much to Doug and his team for supporting us that way. And echoing what everybody has said earlier on, use the support that is available. It's there. Sometimes it could be a little bit hard to find. Sometimes you look at it and think, this is way too complicated and I just haven't got time. But it's there, and Adventure, out of all the people that we looked at, Adventure and BEF made it super easy. And things are tough enough when you're starting a business, so harness what is available to you, use what they've got, and hopefully you'll get some good traction for your business. Our next step is growth by acquisition. So over the next beginning January, we're looking at acquiring businesses to support our organic growth plan. And in our head, we're looking at maybe 2 businesses a year for the next 2 or 3 years. So we're looking to try and convey that message of being well established, being really good at what we do, all of those things that I mentioned earlier, into that market as well. The next lesson I would suggest is been important to us is investing and supporting ourselves. So laying strong foundations early on has been really, really important. We decided to invest in systems and processes that would structure us properly as a business and support our growth. And a lot of people don't do that because you think, oh, well, I'm small, I need to get on with selling, I need to get on with doing the work. I can't be doing all these systems and processes. I'll manage with a spreadsheet, whatever it is. we have learned that is not for us the best way to go, because what generally happens is 2 or 3 years down the line, you realize that you need those systems and processes, and the cost of transformation at that point is often way more than the cost of implementation early on. So it is expensive, it is resource intensive, but I can only tell you from our experience, it's super worth doing, because what you're creating is a blueprint for a business that's going to take you 5 or 10 years hence. And as you grow that business, and as you bring people into that business, nothing is stuck in individuals' heads. It's written down, it's documented, there's a process, and getting those people in and productive quickly is brilliant, because you're literally handing them a manual and saying, that's how we do stuff, let's do it like that. And consistency is quality, and quality is satisfaction for customers, and that's absolutely what we're all after. So, as I mentioned earlier, some of that was funded by grants from Adventure and by support we got from BEF. And I will just reiterate, use it, because everybody in this room has a chance to help their businesses using that external resource. And everybody in this room can help each other. And that's, you know, a really strong message that I would echo from, I think, every person that stood on this stage earlier. People are absolutely crucial. Whether you're one person starting out and you think you might only ever be one person, that's absolutely fine. Or whether you're a small team looking to grow to 100, 200, people are absolutely central and crucial to what you do. One of the reasons that we decided to position Apollo Cloud as we did is because a lot of companies have got onto the automation bandwagon and think, oh, what I'll do is I'll just let my customers contact me through chat, that'll be fine. And as a customer, that is really annoying sometimes. We've probably all experienced it. You go on as customers looking for contact numbers on websites, you can't find any because they don't want you to speak to them. And what I was shocked at was the number of telecoms companies that do that. So they are in the business of selling business communications, but they actually don't want anybody to talk to them. So what we said is, right, our strapline is we are powered by people. And what we've done is we've used the automation, we have used the AI, we've put all of that in the business in the background with the specific intention of freeing up our people's time to do the job that only humans can do, which is to interact with customers and suppliers and partners and create those brilliant relationships that bring in the sales and that help us to make and create a sustainable business. So people are really, really important. The other thing I would say on that point is, I know it's difficult when you're starting out. You're probably not taking much salary from a business sometimes, if any, but you've got to employ people. And you think, employ the best people you can, even if you can't really afford them at that time, because those people treated well and those people working within that environment you've created are going to really help your business to drive forward and are really going to help take it forward. We decided to bring in people that we had worked with previously, people we know and trust, and we've gifted them shares in the company. So hopefully that gives them an incentive and a belief in where we're going, and it will eventually, hopefully, give them a huge reward as well. So treat your people as well as you can. We work on the premise of fewer, better people are better for the business, because, and again, I've learned over the years, you get somebody on a mid-range salary, they do a mid-range job some of the time, and before you know it, you've ended up with consequential employees because you've had to hire somebody to manage that person who really should be managing themselves. So if you can invest in great people early on and support and develop those people on an ongoing basis, you're going to have a much stronger company, and it's going to pay dividends as you go. And their success is your success. So eventually, everybody will be rewarded, and hopefully it'll work out brilliantly for everybody. But enjoy the journey, because it's hard. And there'll be days when you think, I wish I'd never started this palaver. And there'll be times when you feel nothing's going to go right. But there'll be loads of times when you feel stuff is going to go right. So enjoy it. There's never enough hours in the day to do what needs to be done. You need to manage yourself and manage that time. Take a step back, celebrate your wins, and more importantly, give yourself a pat on the back every now and then. Because if you're the business leader, sometimes there isn't anybody else that's going to do it. So you've got to do it yourself. And critically, and I think this takes us right back to where the mayor started this morning, support yourself with a strong network. And everybody in this room is a strong support network. So hopefully, I'm finished now, there you have it, a few things that have shaped our story, and hopefully you'll take something away from it. So thank you for letting me share that with you in my croaky fashion. And here's to all of us enjoying the journey and growing our businesses and achieving great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.